Lovely and a gracious greetings from KUDOS International, the Latte Show. I am Dr. Supriya Kumaravelan, your host, and once again I am here to take everybody on the journey of miracles, on the journey of inspiration, motivational, and so many things. But today, ladies and gentlemen, this journey is going to be super awesome, super amazing not because we are having a super awesome coffee, because we are going to witness an amazing experience with our wonderful guest. And if you want to check it out, who is she? Then you have to look on to this video. Here is my lovely guest, the lovely Dr. Euvonka Farabee. Welcome, Dr. Euvonka, to our show. It's been a great privilege and honor for me to host you. And once again, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supriya. It is an awesome opportunity. I'm so grateful. I never take for granted the opportunity to come and address the audience of others as well as yourself, and I'm just very grateful.
Well, all honor is ours, Dr. Euvonka, to host you. And as I said, that this journey is going to be super awesome because we want to inspire millions through your motivational, inspirational life journey. So without any delay, without any pause, Dr. Euvonka, I'm so excited to know what's the, inspiring journey behind this super strong woman, which we say, which we call, which we love, Dr. Euvonka. So kindly enlighten the world with your very motivational and very inspiring your life journey.
Well, again, thank you for inviting me to do such a thing. And my desire is to assist as many people as I can just by inspiring other people to live their truth, their hopes, and their dreams. As a matter of fact, in the short time that we have, I want people to think about their own dreams, own things that they desire to achieve in life, and how it's so important and it's so vital that they don't discount what it is that God has put into their heart. Um, Today, I'm a master empowerment coach. I'm a motivational speaker. I help people with online course creators get their message across the globe. I mean, a prison chaplain. I have a nonprofit by the name of Beyond the Shackles, where we instill hope in the incarcerated, disenfranchised, and their families. But it wasn't always like that for me. I was born in Chicago, here in Illinois, in the United States, and I had blue collar working parents. My mother in the United States, there's something called the Great Migration, and in the 50s, many people left farm life in the southern region of the United States, and they moved to the Midwest to obtain these factory jobs that promise regular pay and pensions. And you got these jobs and you worked there your entire life and you retired and you got your pension and all the things that were promised to you, and that was it. And so my mother was a part of that movement. When she was 19, she left her farm with her family and she got one of these jobs in 3 days of hitting Chicago, Illinois. And she met my dad there, and they both worked at a factory, just as I said. And even though they didn't stay married, they both stayed at this company 35 years for my mom and 40 years for my dad, respectively. And it's important that I mention this because it is a part of the mindset that I was raised up under. You got in and you didn't like it. It didn't matter if you didn't like your job. You roll your sleeves up and you do the best job you can do and you do it and you stay there and you don't, make any waves. You don't make any changes. And as you know, the world has changed a great deal. And it's different now. My mom, in her 80s, she even understands more about purpose, but this is because of the way my life eventually went. But going back again, my mother, even though my parents didn't stay married, one of the things that my parents instilled was education in terms of, because they weren't college educated. Particularly my mother was like, you've got to go to college and you got to get one of those corporate jobs, so you don't have to get your hands dirty. Like, your father and I, we got our hands dirty. We don't want that for you. And I was in agreement. I did that. I went to graduate college and I got a job at a Fortune 100 company in an engineering organization. And my mother was so proud, but there was a problem, Dr. Rika, was a problem because when I say I hated that place, I hated it. And I
Uh,
hated it because I was like a fish out of water. There was nothing wrong with the place. There was nothing wrong with the job. But first of all, I'm no engineer. I just want to say that. Just,
okay.
but I didn't know anything about purpose. I didn't know anything about living your dreams and understanding your values and what was important to you. That was completely lost on me. And I remember going to tell my mom. I said, um, I don't know. I'm gonna have to do something different. I'm gonna have to find another job. I'm gonna have to find another career. I don't know. But to my surprise, my mother was absolutely mortified. She was like, "What? You gonna give up this? You made more money than I ever made my whole life. You got to give up the benefit." And she says, "No, you get in there and you do the best job you can do, and and that's it. You get those people to pay you as much money as you can get them to pay you, and that's it." And so I listened. And the thing at that time, even in those days, I always had these entrepreneurial desires, but I would push them down because, particularly my father, what you would say entrepreneur, and he goes, "Ooh, all that risk, all that risk. I don't like all that risk. You need to get a sure thing." But it wasn't. Our society is not like it was when my parents were coming. You could get a job and keep a job for 40 years. Now it's not that way, and starting in the 90s and things like that, in the early 2000s, we were well on our way to the consistent reorganizations and the layoffs and the restructurings and all the things that they didn't have to experience. But in that, I found myself now. I have gained creature comforts. I have things. I own property and a home, and I'm married, and I have all the things that this money now is required to keep moving. So my dreams are getting further and further on the back burner. But because I would not live my truth, when the 2008 economy crashed, I lost everything. I lost that six-figure job I thought I couldn't do without. By this time, I was married about 12 years. I guess in that marriage, it buckled under the weight, and so I was divorced. And I found myself with no life plan. I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know what my values were. I didn't know what was important to me. But I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I did something that I would suggest no one do. It's because I was motivated on fear, the fumes of fear, and and not knowing where my life was going. And I made a decision to open an insurance agency from scratch. I took
Right.
all of my retirement, I took all of my severance, and I poured my life into this insurance agency. But the problem with that is when you don't have a life plan and you don't know your values, I painted myself in a corner for the very same thing that I had with all of my careers and all of my jobs. That insurance company was the bane of my existence. Not because the insurance industry is bad, but it was not what it was cracked up to be for me. And so it was 7 years of toil and pushing this ball uphill, until I found myself at the end of the 7 years. Um, I had laid off all my employees. I didn't have a dime to my name. And now at this point, I'm facing eviction, not only in my business location, but and now this has crept into my personal life. And I had downsized my life, and I had sold all my real estate holdings when I got a divorce. Didn't make any money on that because of the economy. And so now in the apartment where I was renting, I was also facing eviction. So in that, I'm in my office. I'm at the end of nothing. But I will tell you, in that time was exactly where I believe God wanted me to be. I had gotten to the end of myself, and now I was in a better position to hear and listen to my heart about what is this really this thing that I desire to do. You want to go into business, but why? You want to, what is it that you want to solve? I hadn't thought about any of that stuff, and this is even being a person of faith, but I was, it just wasn't, it wasn't personalized in terms of my purpose. So fortunately, I began to, in my time of not being employed, I started volunteering with reentry plans for people who were coming out from incarceration into to be integrated into general society. And this is something I would have never thought about at any other particular time because my family, one of the things I didn't mention is that I had a brother who he's been deceased for about 10 years now. God rest his soul. But when he was a teen alcoholic, and which culminated into a drug problem. And my family,
Oh,
we are not skilled. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the knowledge to manage this kind of addiction or challenge. We just were a family in crisis, and there were so many things that we did wrong, but we didn't know better. But this led to a cycle of incarceration for my brother, and it caused a degree of bitterness in myself because as a teenager, because my brother was older than myself and we were very close growing up, but this addiction led him away from our family. And as a young girl, I didn't understand, so I thought he was choosing drugs over our family. And I would often tell him that, why are you choosing to do this? And that's not how addiction works. We know so much more
yeah,
now. Um, but what ended up happening, I really thought about what my brother needed. What did he need when he was getting out that caused him to go back outside of the even the addiction itself? What are the resources? So I began to help with that, and that sparked something inside of me. It sparked a passion. And so what I want to say to people is that even in these adverse times, you might be really going through something that is very challenging. Very challenging. It may be the worst thing that has even happened to you in your entire life. Do you know that God can take that and help you refashion it for the greater good? There's a quote by someone by the name of Flavia Whedon that I like to quote, and she says, "If one dream should break into a million pieces, never be afraid to pick up that one pieces of that dream and begin again." You have to be able to begin again, and you can begin again. And that's exactly what I had to do. But this time, I, with that foundation all torn apart, because Les Brown has a saying that says, "Let go or be dragged." I was being dragged by my life circumstances, trying to keep all the balls in the air, trying to keep all of the stuff that really, in the end of the day, I found out I didn't need. It didn't matter. All the cars, the house, that meant nothing. And there's nothing wrong. I don't want to put anybody in any bondage if they have this. But if that life is keeping you from living what you truly want to do, because one of the things I do now as a life coach is I help people get from whatever their adverse circumstance is to the other side of it so that they can rebuild their life, but they rebuild it on a foundation that is true to who they are, as opposed to the faulty foundation that they've built by a world who says, what they should be. That is the antithesis to the very thing that they should be doing themselves. So, but this is going to require sacrifice. And one of the challenges I had earlier in this process, before everything fell apart on me, is I wanted to have the things that I believed that I wanted to do, that I believe God would have wanted me to do, but I didn't want to sacrifice to get it. I didn't want to give up anything. I wanted my life to stay the same. I wanted to have my house with my north facing city lights view. I wanted to have, and the bottom line is that these things were keeping me imprisoned, and I couldn't even afford to take a chance, because what happens, your income all becomes strapped into maintaining all this. Even with people, when I talk to, they have kids, I know you want your kids to have the best, but if there's something as a family that you want to achieve and you want to instill in your children so that they can live their truth and so that they can live their purpose, maybe you have to see what you have to scale down as a family so that you can even afford to do that. Maybe your kids don't have equestrian lessons and karate lessons and tennis lessons. Maybe they pick one thing. Maybe, but it's really a challenge, and it was for me. I really thought And you don't say it like that. You don't say I can't live without these things, but your actions and your lack of willingness to lay things down so that you can live the life you're meant to live, it becomes evident in action. And so I just want to encourage people. What is it that you're willing to give up? What is it that you're willing to sacrifice so that you can retool your life so that you can live a life that you should live? They say that, and not understanding this is why most people die at 25 and they're buried at 72, because they don't
Thank you.
understand this truth. They don't understand this truth, and they don't, and even when they do, it's very challenging to make the sacrifice to say, I'm going to scale down and live in a two-bedroom apartment with me and my kids and my spouse, instead of living in this house, so that I can rebuild. We can rebuild together and do what it is what we really want to do.
Dr. Ivanka, I will say only one thing. When you were telling me about your life journey, like when you saw, and the most important thing where I felt like a turbulence of emotions, your work, your passion, your personal life, that was when you saw your brother was in the engulf of drugs.
Yeah,
And you at that time, I can't imagine, what would be your condition. You have to
yeah,
see this, your work also, your life also, and how you were in the clouds of turbulence of clouds, how to take out your brother. And he chose, you must be thinking, his drugs over the family. But it never happened. That we all know, it's all about the addiction. And that part
yeah,
of your life, sweet Dr. Euvonka, that part of life, I think it has transformed everyone, including the
yeah.
entire family.
You
But
know,
but
and and the
yeah,
and
yeah,
the thing about the addiction and how devastating it was, because my brother, he was a good person at his core. He
yeah,
was somebody you liked being around, unless he was high or unless he had too much to drink. And
can
when he got so out of control, when it was getting away from him and he couldn't control it, he would, at one point, he was estranged from my family for 5 years. Nobody knew if he was living or dead, because it was bad for him and he didn't want us to see him like that, particularly me. We were very close. He didn't want me
yeah,
to see that aspect of his life. So he went somewhere else
exactly,
and built a whole new life. And the addiction grips families like that, and they don't. If you don't have the tools and you don't have the understanding, at least in terms of how to draw boundaries, how to even get help as a family, because you can't control a
exactly,
person. You can only control yourself. And as a
exactly.
family,
You don't control other.
yeah, you
Exactly
can
that.
get tools. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And Dr. Ivanka, I use the three words but. And I
Hmm.
will say only one thing. That point of your life, you would have given up. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
would be there at your place. Even I was at your place. I imagine those black clouds and anxieties and worries. I would have given up. But the most
Hmm.
important thing is you didn't give up. You just moved
I
on,
did.
just
Yeah.
did your work, take the name of the Lord, and just say only one thing: there is
Uh-huh.
no option rather being strong, then you have to move on. And that's the spirit, Dr. Ivanka, you are giving to entire world across the globe, where people are watching you. Just move on and never ever give up in your life. So I should have, hats off to you. I would have said if I would have hats, but still I pay my gratitude to a strong woman like you, who kept on moving with her family values. And of course, your work, which you are doing, is really awesome. So, once
Yeah.
again, a round of applause for you, for your determination, for your perseverance, and never ever giving up attitude. Hats off to you, Dr. Ivanka. Wonderful.
You know, I do want to thank you so much, but I want to say, because I want to make this clear.
Yeah,
When you find that your life is not in a direction that you desire it to go, you're gonna have to
yeah,
take good courage. When you
exactly.
when you lift your head up and you see you veered so far away from shore, your whole trajectory of life is not anywhere near where you thought it. And in order to get it going in the direction you need, you're gonna need to take good courage. It's not it's simple, but it's not easy. That's what I want to say.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
to make the plan, it might be simple, but to go after your dream, it's going to take some things. And don't worry about the resources. Don't worry about the fact that the dream you have costs millions of dollars. I want to say something about that. You need to face the numbers. You will be surprised when you make your vision plain on tables, when you make it plain. And you don't have to show anybody, but make your dream as big as you desire it, and don't dumb it down for anybody. You may need to
Exactly.
scale it, yeah, scale it and build it so that it can scale up to what you want, when the one day comes. But when you deal with the numbers, when you deal with the real budgets, you will be surprised what comes in line for you. The people who want to come alongside of you and help you is when we say, oh, that's going to cost too much money, I'll do this little thing over here. It's something that's not scalable. It's something that's not true to who you are and what you believe and what you desire. And it's something it's waste time, and you're gonna have to scrap. You'll learn your lessons from it. Don't get me
Of
wrong, because I believe in using everything that you've been through to leverage you to your next levels in life. But I really encourage people to not scale down their dream. Don't scale down what God has put in your heart. You can reverse engineer it. Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And then go back and then start deal with year one. But make sure what you're
exactly.
building is that it
Very
is something that you can keep growing. And you also may find in this not what I it's not what I thought, and this is not really what I want to do. I thought that's not wasted time. I'm telling you, there's value in that. If you get to a point because now you've started to do the work and you're like, this is real, I don't want to spend my time, but I don't think this is how I'm supposed to spend my time. That's valuable. That's
true.
valuable. And then you can start really continuing to dig in to see what it is that you are supposed to achieve in the world, like what you all are doing at Kudos.
Exactly, exactly, Dr. Ivanka.
Hmm.
And well, this was like you can say the roller coaster of happiness, your challenges, which you I was about to ask you a challenge, but you had explained everything in a single answer. And really, it's so inspiring when we see some in some situation where we think, oh, we need to give up, nothing is going to be good. But suddenly, with your courage, you can win over any situation. And that's what I can say, and that's what our global audience can say from your life journey, Dr. Ivanka.
Hmm.
So let's move forward. And one
Sure.
thing, when I was going through your LinkedIn profile, wow, I saw liveshacklefree.com. And I couldn't stop myself asking you the next question. Dr. Ivanka, please enlighten the world, of course, me also, because I want to know what exactly it is and how people can leverage from liveshacklefree.com or from your knowledge. So let's talk about your work, your profession, which you do for the
Hmm.
society. Yeah,
So there are a couple of things that I do, and liveshacklefree.com is my I say it's my coaching site, but really there are so many things that I'm able to assist people with. Coaching is the primary goal of that site, and it can be whatever a person needs. They may need accountability coaching. I tend to work with a lot of women. With men, I work a little bit, but with usually with accountability coaching with men. So sometimes it's kind of challenging for them to get into second level challenges, because what I do with my clients is we look at not only what you want to achieve, but we also look at what has been stopping you thus far. What is it that you've been afraid of? Because the thing is, fear is valuable. Fear is very valuable, because fear, sometimes there's knowledge in fear. So what we do is we look and see what is a reasonable amount of fear. If you do this, you may lose your money. Well, that's a reasonable fear. So what is it that you would need to do so that you don't lose your money? What are the things that you need to put in place? What needs to be established in what it is that you're trying to achieve in your structure and your plans that help mitigate that risk? Or, they're the things that's unreasonable, that has to do with limiting beliefs, the boogeyman stuff. People can deal with real problems, not boogeyman problems. So the other things out of fear, those things that are not rational, that comes from mindset. shifts and mindset changes. So, in doing that, we examine, where did this come from? Where did you first feel this inadequacy? What experiences that you have that at that point you kind of shut down and you decide not to live this truth of your life anymore. So those are the things that we dig deep and we deal with so that we can get past even trying to move forward, whatever the venture is, the ministry venture, the business venture, whatever it is, so that you don't self-sabotage when you get down the line, because those things that you don't deal with, they come back to haunt you at the most inopportune times. When you start to get your opportunities, things will start to happen and they'll start to collapse because you didn't believe in what you had in your hand and what God had given you to do, and that you had the capabilities. Even when you have done so many things for so many other companies, so many other people, you have won awards, you all kind of achievements and accolades, but for whatever reason, with people, sometimes when it comes to themselves, all of a sudden they start to backpedal on their own dreams. And so I help people establish what it is that they really want to do, and look at with the roadblocks to see what's really stopping them.
Wow, that's great and incredible. And here I would love to take a pause. Pause doesn't mean a break. A break doesn't mean a pause.
Mhm.
This is just to draw the attention of my global viewers who will be watching this video later or who are watching this video live. Coaching is not an expenditure. It's an, you can say, investment, which
It's
most
an
of the people think.
investment. Hmm.
And here, Dr. Ivanka, when I was going through a profile, I was thinking, let's encourage people to connect with you, to go through your coaching, because these are just mind blowing. So, my global audience, kindly connect with Dr. Ivanka. Please make your life meaningful, successful, and transform it the best way. And the best way, when I say there is only one way, to coach yourself, to transform
Hmm.
yourself, because making yourself working on your gaps and filling the gaps and just making on your productivity, that's called the meaning of life. And this is a golden opportunity not to be missed. So the door is open, golden door, I must say, through Dr. Ivanka. Connect with her, she's there on LinkedIn, and make your life meaningful and successful. I'll be sharing your link, of course, in your my own page, and
And
let's make
and they can
everybody's
also reach me on my website too. If they send me a
sure.
message on my website, I'll get back with them as well. And I can do a 30-minute consultation. I do individual coaching, but I also do group coaching as well. And that can also be very valuable for people to go through coaching with others. And you learn from each other.
I highly recommend for this lifeshacklefree.com. Please go to this and make your life meaningful. So live, and just take this golden opportunity. Hats off to you, Dr. Ivanka. Great one. Well, Dr. Ivanka, my coffee, I have taken not a sip because you were recharging me, you were rejuvenating me, and of course, your life journey. And my next question is very, very simple, very, very favorite. What is your opinion about Kiddos International? So, anything from your heart you can tell about the show, you can tell anything about our Matt Allen, the CEO and founder. So, it's up to
Hmm.
you.
Well, first of all, Matt Allen is wonderful, and I love his passion for what it is, the mission, and what Kudos International, Kudos Miracles, what you're wanting to accomplish for the eradication of the homeless population across the world. And, if you get around the wrong people, somebody might say, oh, around the world, that's too many. That's 150 million people. That's too much. You know what? That is exactly what you need to do. You need to cast a vision, and then you're able to pull in the resources that you need, meaning people. And that's the other thing that is being done through the conference that you're doing, pulling together the people that are attacking this very real and very challenging issue all around the world. People are doing different things, and I can relate to it because of incarceration. Even when I think about incarceration, And the things that I do locally now, God has me going into prisons internationally. So there are people that's like, well, you don't want to do that because of things they heard, they watch too much TV. But when you have a vision and you know that this is something that you're supposed to be doing, just like with Kudos, don't allow anyone to tell you that what you're thinking is too big. What you're thinking is too big. And I really appreciate Kudos Miracles and their broad vision about such a challenge of homelessness. Because the thing about it is 150 million people around the world. It's a big number, but guess what? It is growing. So what are as a society are we going to do to stop it? Because it's our personal responsibility to do so. This is not somebody else's problem. This is everyone's problem. So what do you see people and people are doing all kind of things. I know of a church that has a whole, because they can't house everybody, but they provide showers and things, to help that wash their clothes and keep things clean. And then hopefully, if they want help, if there's drugs involved, they can point them in a direction to get help if that's what it is they desire to do. If they want jobs, they try to connect with those who may have an avenue for jobs. So there are so many things when you're dealing with many people, you can come up with a solution that starts, a little bit at a time. And if you could take one family off the street, that's success. That's success. And with being a chaplain, the Bible says is that one could put 1,000 to flight, and two could put 10,000 to flight. So if you get together, you're mobilized and you leverage that much more in order to achieve the goal of making sure that people have a place to live, that children can grow up and sleep in a bed. This is an amazing venture.
Well, when we talk about miracles, Dr. Euvonka, what I say? Here is the Matt Allen, who is the miracle, who is doing miracles for the society. So, our Matt, founder and CEO of Kiddos International, welcome, and I pass the dice in your court.
Thank you. Uh, Dr. Euvonka, what a wonderful privilege to have you here today. Um, I would just like to ask you a little question, and you'll understand why in just a moment. But we haven't talked for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and we literally talked for a few minutes just before you came on,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't talk about any of what you talked about today. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk about sacrifice or anything like that, have we?
Mm-mm, we sure haven't.
Okay, so um, on LinkedIn, we just released our latest newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
My article in that newsletter talks about exactly what you were talking about sacrifice and about making change.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, like we did talk about just before you came on, it's about unity together. It's about people working together to achieve a greater goal. And that current greater goal that I have my eyes set on, and many other people do, is to solve homelessness for homeless people. And beyond that, to solve the housing crisis and to help economic standing for people in all of our societies, because we all need that. And that's clearly demonstrated in what you've been talking about people needing to make personal sacrifice and societal sacrifice to make these goals um, achievable, to make it possible for us to think differently and do things differently. Because if we continue the way that we do, society is set to collapse in on itself.
Yeah.
It's like what you describe about there's going to be more homeless people rather than less if we don't change things. And that really is what we're about, is about changing things on a grand scale, about making real societal difference by looking at things differently and providing a solution, much in the way that you've described, about thinking about process in terms of entrepreneurialism and thinking big, and really about love as well, about family, about society, about community. Obviously, we've got the global conference coming up. People can see that on Supriya's title at the bottom of the website. And that really is about spreading a message, not just about feeding some homeless people, not just about giving them some tools to make them feel better and hopefully give them some optimism, but also to involve them in a think tank to enable their thoughts and their ideas about what they want the future to look like, and then through to delivering a bit about what our solution is and why that's different and why that really makes fundamental change, because it's no longer about just profit or revenue, it's about people. Because the profit and the revenue sure are important, because we need to make sure as a business, and you're very clearly a talented business lady, we need to make sure that the money is there. But we also need that to be different now. We need that to be about people. And whilst we see the numbers and the volume of people being homeless as a great tragedy, it also represents an opportunity for business and for those people for us to look at how that problem is, solve that problem, and do it in a much more beneficial way for everybody going forwards. Um, it's surprising how much we have in common once that we sit back and listen to each other and just listen to the words that we say, and not just listen, but feel those words, because it's the feelings, the people behind those words that are the important thing, not necessarily just the words themselves. So I'm going to be quiet now because I'm going to be quiet one way or another.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to say once again, thank you very much. Would you like to tell everybody once again your website address so that then they know where to find you? And we'll be sure to put your LinkedIn details and other things in the respective comments. Good.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I agree with you 1,000%, because even some of the things that I do with my nonprofit organization, we do international missions as well. And I do leadership training with pastors in Kenya as well as in Cameroon, and work with widows. And one of the things that we believe in meeting an immediate need, meaning we'll take, some things for food, and we'll take, but it's always to plant seed, and because they're a fertile ground. So, and it's very hard for people to listen to you if they don't know how they're gonna eat, or if they're not. So we do those things, but there's also a conditioning that, okay, what is it that we can empower you to do so that you can mobilize what you already have? Because even in that homeless community, you said something that was very important, in that you're involving them in these think tanks. They know what they need. It's not about us telling them what they need. They know what they need. They may not have the resources to do it. They may not have even the know-how, but they know what at the core. What if they just had X, Y, Z? Maybe this would help them leverage. And because they live the life that they live, they have an important voice. And
Yep.
so, congratulations on even understanding that they need, their voice is vital. It's not optional. It's not optional. It's not about us who know so much go in there and tell them what they need to do to get off the streets and what they need to do. That is the wrong way to look at this. And we have to value people and their knowledge. And I know if you talk to homeless people, they have some of the most incredible backgrounds,
Yep.
many of them. And it doesn't, most people are a paycheck away from being in their situation.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't know what has happened for someone to get in that situation. And I've learned so much over the years, even working in women's shelters and doing things like that. I've just learned that you can't make any assumptions, and you must listen to what people say. That is important. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry for being long winded about that, but I wanted to make sure, make that clear. But my website is www.liveshacklefree.com. And you can send me a message. That is the best way to reach me, is to reach out and send me a message. You can subscribe to that website as well for upcoming events and newsletters and things that I will have coming up as well. I also have, for my nonprofit, my page is www.beyondtheshackles.com. But the best way to reach me is through liveshacklefree.com. That is the best way.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I'll just pick up on something that you mentioned in the sense that we all have something inside of us. And I look at that thing as a miracle because each and every one of us has something special about us, whether that's the love of our family or an ability to do something or something new that didn't exist in the world today. Um, my thing is this: I create solutions, and whether that's fundamentally something that changes the world or just something that changes the people's lives that I touch currently, I know that that's my mission and my miracle. And the world is full of miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's about time that we use those miracles together to really make change and really help change the world for the better.
Yeah.
Because now is the time that we need that miracle, especially these people who are homeless and many people besides who stand on the brink, like you say, of being in that very situation too. If we're not prepared to be the solution, we are only part of the problem. We should band together and do what we can for not just ourselves, but for everybody else. Because, as I always say, people are the solution.
You know, with all the accolades and stuff that I mentioned about myself, I was 9 days from having to sleep in my car. If it weren't for the fact that someone rented me a room in the 11th hour, I
Yeah.
would have been in the very same situation of many people that they find themselves in. And so it does not take much. And this is from someone who, I had, it's interesting. I had the dinner parties at my house, I had I have no idea where those people are. I don't know where they are. Where are those people? I have no idea.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was me and God.
Yeah.
And I had to really dig deep to see, what is it that is really the truth? All that other stuff was fluff and it was superficial. What really matters? What difference do I want to make in this world? What legacy do I want to leave? Because we all have one. We all have one we need to leave.
And not only that, but you believed that you could do that.
Hmm.
And you took action to make that happen. And you successfully are completing that every day now. You are living a different life because you believed in that and you took action and you continue to believe and take action because you realize that that's the difference that really exists for people is that by believing in something bigger than ourselves and taking action to be part of that and action to solve our own problems because again we are our own solution and a miracle to ourselves.
Yeah.
We just need to get ourselves up off of our seats or wherever situation we are from
Hmm.
and help each other and extend a hand to be able to help as many people as we can. And
Yeah.
some people can't help because they're in such a difficult position, but that's why we're all holding our hands out for those people too.
Yeah.
There's no reason to exclude anybody. There's
Hmm.
only reason to include everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the show. I'm going to leave now, like I say, before my throat really packs up.
We're in a similar situation. But I just want to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak to your viewing audience. And hopefully, some things that I've shared would help to motivate people to know that whatever it is, whatever position that they're in, that they can rise up from that place and they can begin again. They can retool. If you need to start over from scratch, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that if you went in a direction that you've built and you need to tear down in order to make it something that is more true to your values, do that. And make a plan to do it. And sure, some things are going to hurt and some things are going to have consequences, but I promise you, I don't care if it's financial, I don't care what it is, you'll be able to retool, reshift, and you'll be able to begin again and you'll be stronger than you ever were. And not only will you be stronger, but you'll be able to help other people along your path that God puts along your path that needs that needs your help so that they can live a better life than what they're living today.
Awesome, Dr. Euvonka. And before I move into step into my next round, which is very my favorite, let me tell you something. You are getting a lot of love, a lot of lovely comments from Dr. Stan, from Carol, and some other people that this
Oh, Dr.
is
Stan.
really incredible. So hats off to you, Dr. Euvonka. And now get set for the rapid fire round without delaying a second. So, Dr.
Okay.
Ivanka, are you ready to take up this challenge?
Okay.
All right. So, who is Dr. Ivanka's role model?
Oh, I have so many, but I would tell you a lot. It's going to be biblically based. But if I talk about people that are walking around, Dr. Stan is one of my role models. People like Les Brown, even people that are no longer with us, like the Jim Rohns and the Miles Monroes of the world. There's so much, and that's why legacy is so important because they have left something that will allow all of us to be influenced and to live a better life. And they are no longer even with us. In they're here in spirit, but not in the physical. So those are role models.
Awesome. Dr. Ivanka's favorite coffee.
Ooh, so I have because I am a coffee drinker, and normally I would drink just a black with creamer. But I have a flavor coffee that's strong enough. Usually, flavor coffees are really, they're really weak. But there's a Don Francisco or something like that that's hazelnut coffee. I love it. It's strong like I like, but it has the hazelnut flavor. So I really like that one.
Awesome. Dr. Ivanka's favorite dream destination. You can say vacation destination. Oh,
Okay, this one is challenging because I like any place tropical for a vacation. But every time I get free time now, I usually because of my passion, it's for missions. Every time I have an opportunity to do something to go to a tropical island or something like that, if I get a moment, I'm like, I want to go to Africa. I don't want to go to the bush. People think I'm nuts, but you know what? Purpose will do that. Wanting to fulfill destiny will do that. You'll have such a passion about such things. I want to go and minister the gospel in Cameroon, and I want to go and support. I have an orphanage I support there. I want to go and see the kids. This is what I love to do.
awesome. Awesome. This is one great one. Well, this is so interesting. What is one quality of yourself which you love most? Oh, this is my most lovable quality I love about myself.
Resilience, and I would
Wow.
say it's because resilience is I would say the one thing that has really sustained me and having joy in the midst of turmoil, because one of the things that my faith has afforded me is in times of peace, I've always sought the Lord, so that when trial and tribulation comes, I have something that stabilizes me at my core. Everything is still crazy, but when you have a hope that everything is going to be okay and it's going to be for the greater good, it gives you a peace that surpasses all understanding, and it will allow you to hear more clearly so that you can get the strategy that you need to move out of adversity. It's been so valuable to have that resilience, and and I tell people all the time, you have to have something that stabilizes you when life is not going your way.
Exactly.
Mhm.
All right. Last but not least, which is your favorite social media platform? Yeah.
You know what? I'm a lot of the kids around here, I like the one that what they say, quote unquote, the old people are on, which is Facebook.
Oh,
all, all of the millennials are like, oh, that's where all the adults, we ran all the kids away, because they didn't want us in their business. So, but I really enjoy Facebook because I like to interface with people. You can, I'll do the photos, but you can write on Facebook, you can do videos on Facebook. So it tends to be a favorite. And then I use LinkedIn as probably my second one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So hats off to you and a round of applause for playing brilliantly and answering promptly. That's what matters in a fire round. And hats off to you with my latte coffee. Cheers to you, Dr. Euvonka, for coming to our show and enlightening every moment. I just loved it. So thanks to
Thank you
you
so much.
for this great evening. Thank you so
Bless you.
much.
Bless you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, much gratitude, my lovely, lively global audience, for always loving us, cheering us, motivating us. Keep doing that. Don't forget that. Stay happy, hail and hearty. Bye bye.